You're also going to learn about why this actually exists, why it's different from other programs, who this program is actually for, the structure of the program, curriculum overview, as well as what you'll walk away with if you get into the program and go through the program, requirements and dates, as well as how you can apply. And then, of course, we're going to get to your questions. So a little bit about us. So this is the Scale Ready Studio that is by Women in NYC, designed by Get Shit Done. I'm Alex Batdorf. I am the CEO of Get Shit Done. We're in a collective and ecosystem building platform helping women and underestimated entrepreneurs scale sustainable and high growth companies. And we've actually been building programs supporting women identifying entrepreneurs and building their businesses, and not just building, like launching, but growing, really growing your revenues, getting traction. And we were approached by Women in NYC, who is a part of New York's Economic Development Office, maybe a couple years ago, saying, hey, there are so many amazing women entrepreneurs in New York City who aren't just looking to raise capital for their businesses. They actually want to grow their businesses, and they need something that can help them do that. So that's why we created this program. I Get Shit Done. We've been doing this for a minute now. Everything we do is around not just having you go through yet another program, which I'm sure a few of you have already gone through so many programs, but now it's about how do we actually get results in our business and see those results, meaning cash in your bank account. That is the top thing for us. How do we help you produce revenue and profits in your business so that you can really lead the business and the life that you want? So that's what we're all about. A little bit about why we're here and why we created this business. Or this program. So a little bit about the program in general. Like I mentioned, this program is not something where we're going to focus on helping you raise investor capital. There are so many a lot of great programs out there that already do that. There are more founders we hear that are like, I can't go through yet another program where I'm not actually growing my business. And this is our solution to that. And what the work we've been doing for years now is really making sure that you all are going through this and actually getting the results in your business that make a difference, that attract the things you want, whether it is capital or if it is more customers, all of that. This helps you really grow the business in the way that's intentional, and get you out of the scarcity mode. And so in terms of the format of the program, it's 12 weeks. It is scholarship based. You probably saw on the website and in the program requirements that there is a refundable deposit that's only $250. Here is why we do this. Again, there are so many amazing programs out there, and founders go through a lot of amazing programs. And what we realize is for us to really make an impact, we need the founders in our programs to report on their progress. This doesn't just help us, it helps the founders like you that we serve. So that's why we do a deposit, to making sure that you go through all of the requirements of the programs. It's accountability, no excuses. And this helps us to really collect the data we really need to understand what's working and not working in your business, as well as in other businesses that are in our community. And we share that data with you to understand what's working, what's not. So it is not a high barrier to entry, but it just ensures that's their accountability, because we do get a lot of people that apply, and we want to make sure that the founders that are part of it have skin in the game. And then who we support, like we mentioned, women identifying entrepreneurs, and this is very important, in and building in New York City. Doesn't matter what borough you're in, does not matter, but this is a New York City based program. Supporting women in identifying founders in New York. And the industries that we're supporting, so tech and tech enabled will be our first cohort. In the future cohorts, we'll do climate and green economy, but for this upcoming cohort, it is very specific to tech and tech enabled companies. You must, outside of being in New York City, you must be building a tech or tech enabled business. That is really important. And then outside of that, the growth focus is founders who, again, what you're focused on in your business, not just raising capital. We're not a capital program. We are the program that's going to help you really grow your business and see the results through revenues, profits, things like that. So we're looking for founders focused on traction, revenue, and sustainable growth, not just trying to find a check from somebody. That's a really big thing for us. So yeah, we already talked through some of this, why this program exists. We are best for women founders, identifying founders who are at already 100,000 in revenues. And here's what we see at this particular stage. There's plateau in growth despite proven demand sometimes. You figured out kind of what is working in the business. Now you're like, wait, how do I scale it? How do I go beyond just the start and stop sales cycle that might happen? You might experience unpredictable revenue months. A lot of companies actually have seasonality in a way. You might also be going through non-repeatable sales processes, like I mentioned, the start and stop, inefficient operations because you're at capacity. A lot of times, this is the stage where entrepreneurs have limited in terms of woman power, meaning it's probably you as a solo founder or you have a very small team. And then you might feel in times burnt out from doing everything alone. So this program is really about filling that growth gap. So helping you go beyond just yourself and building the systems, the pipelines, and operational foundations that you need that create that consistent growth in the business. And then outside of that, again, who is this program for? We look for, again, women identifying founders earning at least 100,000 in annual revenues. Also building in tech, that is for tech enabled for Cohort 1. You must be based in New York City, committed to growth, and again, past the ideation phase. We're not the best program for that. We are best for when you already have the business and you're ready to rock and roll and you're ready for the next growth level. And yeah, if you want to look at things like predictable revenue, stronger operations, more sales and partnerships, and optionality in your growth strategy, this is the program for you. And then outside of that, what is this program for? We touched on some of this, but it is a 12-week hands-on program helping women identifying founders really focus on how can you increase your revenues and profits. Again, this is the part where we talk about optionality and how you're growing. Optionality comes from, does this business make money? And does it make money in a repeatable and scalable way? So building that predictable traction, again, that also takes the pressure off of you as the entrepreneur and trying to do everything all the time. You want systems in place. So that means having really strong operations. We help you to do that. Developing a sustainable growth plan, again, getting you out of the start and stop cycle where you're constantly figuring out, okay, I got a client or I got some contracts, and then it's like, well, maybe they're not renewing. Then you have to start back up again. How do we get you out of that and get you more over to the predictable side of growth? And then we want you to grow with clarity and the community and accountability. That's the really key foundations for this program. It is you're able to not just grow the business, you're learning from all of our facilitators in the program, coaches, technical assistants. These are all people who are operators or have been operators themselves and who have all scaled to $1 million in annual revenues. Something I've experienced, especially as a founder myself, this is my third company, and maybe y'all have felt this, and if so, tell me in the chat. People got a lot of advice that they like to give entrepreneurs about how to grow, but a lot of times these people have not grown businesses themselves. And it's cute, and we like when people are really enthusiastic, but when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times you need people who actually understand your struggles and know how to do it versus giving you more theory and more to-do list. So everyone that you learn from and grow with in this program are the people who have actually done it themselves. They've been in your shoes and they're not just telling you to do things to do them. They have done it themselves. And then outside of that, in terms of the community aspect, we see this a lot, especially with women identifying entrepreneurs. We tend to take on the superwoman trope where we try to do everything ourselves and we end up trying to grow in isolation. If there's anything I've learned from my own journey, community is everything. So every step of the way, we make it so that you are able to grow alongside not just the people that you're going to be learning from, but also the people you're going to be growing with in the program, the other founders, and you all are holding each other accountable and getting in the trenches together to grow. So think of it like an extension of your business. That is very, very important to us. And yeah, we started touching on the program structure here, but this is what you can think of. If you get into the program, just what your week would look like. So every Tuesday, we ask for entrepreneurs in the program to submit your KPIs, your key performance indicators. These are the things that you are tracking within the program that are indicators of what does success in your business throughout this program. What does that look like to you? How are you tracking against it? Because we can't improve what we don't measure. That's why the measuring piece is really big for us, and why the founders who have gone through our programs have performed 54% higher on revenues than their counterparts, because they're tracking quite a bit. Then we have Wednesdays. Wednesdays are when we meet as a cohort every Wednesday for the 12-week program. It's in person from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern. And these are when we have our growth facilitators come in. And they're not just teaching you stuff, it's also implementation. So they teach a little bit, but then we get our hands dirty together as a cohort and make sure that we are putting these pieces in place together. So then you're not adding more, again, to-dos to your list of things to do as a founder. You're actually starting that momentum while you're being taught it. And then the next thing is Thursdays. Thursdays from 12 to 1 p.m. This is virtual. Wednesdays are the only in-person that we do. These are what we call integration groups. So that Wednesday, we're teaching you the things and we're starting to build it and figure out how to implement it in your business. Now on Thursdays, this is where you meet with the other folks in your cohort, and then we look at, okay, how do we now integrate this in the business? Again, it's meant to be an extension of what you're already building and the business that you have. So again, it doesn't feel overwhelming and you have to do it by yourself. And that's just what the week looks like over the 12 weeks, but additional layers of support that I've already hinted to a little bit. The first is one-on-one coaching. This is really important to us. Actually, one of my friends, Tracy Holland, we had her on we dropped her episode on our podcast today, and she had mentioned like every founder, if you're in a position, should get a coach. Very game changing. So in the program, we match you with a coach. You get one-on-one coaching. We also do group coaching, because also being able to learn alongside your peers, that has been in my entrepreneurial journey really game changing. And it's also facilitated by a coach who has grown and built and scaled successful businesses, because a lot of times you can learn so much from what your peers are doing, what to do, what not to do, and borrow tips and tricks from each other. That's really big. The next thing is the technical assistance sessions. So again, we try to take as much off of your plate as possible. So once you're learning throughout the cohort, you might say there are key things, and every founder that goes through our program, they learn there are key things that they're doing that are, maybe they're like, I actually need to lean more into marketing. That's where our biggest challenge is, or operations, or sales. Everyone's going to have their key thing that they need to work on. And so we have technical assistance providers. Who are these folks? These are people who can specifically focus on key things in your business, and you get working sessions with them. So maybe you're like, I want someone to help me build out my financial model. Great. You can book that person for an hour to help you go through it. I need someone to help me set up some automations for my marketing. Great. You can book that technical assistance person that will help you do it. And again, get in the trenches with you. So that's how technical assistance works. We also do monthly co-working sessions around the city. This is just a great way to be in community, be by somebody or with the community, with the cohort, and get things done together. We do it for the day. We get you lunch, all of that. And it just allows you, again, we hear this from a lot of founders. They're like, I just want to sit side by side with other people to get it done. Because sometimes you just need that support. And then also we do some community events throughout the cohort. But again, we try to really focus on how do we help you move your business ahead in really tangible, practical, tactical ways where you can see the results. Awesome. So here's a little bit about our curriculum. So over the 3 months, so the 12 weeks of the program, we do 3 different modules. So the first is go-to-market and growth planning. This is really the foundation for how you're going to grow the business. And again, the entrepreneurs we serve, you all have already built the business up to a certain place, but now you're like, how do I get it to the scale part? That's why we say scale ready studio. How do we get you prepared for scale? So it's really about looking at that foundation. How do we plan out your traction and make sure we have the right KPIs, the key performance indicators in place that will support you in growing? And that's what we track throughout the 12 weeks. We focus on things like your hell yes customer profile. Some of you probably know this as your ICP, ideal customer profile, really leaning into that and ensuring that you have the right messaging and positioning to really attract those people, as well as really building and developing your marketing funnel. How are we reaching those people and consistently, again, getting out of that start and stop. And then also your money engine mapping. That's really important. One of my favorite sayings is cash is queen. For any business, not just raising capital. Like, does your company produce and generate cash? That is super important. So we're going to help you map out, how does your business create this engine that you're able to produce this predictable revenue so you're not in start and stop. Then the second module, which is the second month, is really about around sales and business development. This is the number one thing we see across successful entrepreneurs across the board, is that they become amazing salespeople. It is a non-negotiable. If you want a successful business, you have to be in sales. That is your job. You can't outsource it. And we see a lot of entrepreneurs who get scared of sales. And the way that we help you to reframe, especially in the program, is sales are relationships. And if there's anything we've learned about the entrepreneurs we serve, you all are incredible at sales. And because you're incredible at relationships, it's just that mindset shift. So we help you to really build that foundation to get really focused on sales and business development through things like lead generation and prospecting, making sure that you have a process that leads to conversions. Also, how do you go after these larger deals, enterprise deals, procurement, and then more importantly, how do you close the deal? We can't just have you out there doing all these conversations. How do we get to the bag, right? And then finally, that third month in our third module is around operations and scale, and having the right systems in place. This is really critical, because what we see with founders who do start and stop is that they're kind of trying to do everything out of their brain. They don't develop the right systems to make sure that they can get to the next level. And this is where we help you through your revenue operations. How do you automate things? How do you have your workflow? How do you make sure that you're hiring the right people at the right time? But also, how do you put the right people in place, advisors, so you stop going at it alone? So that's what you can expect over the 12 weeks and through the three different modules each month. And really what you can expect to walk away with from the program is an actionable growth plan, not just theory. You're not going to just learn stuff. These are things you're executing on in the program. How do you have consistent KPIs and a system in place that you are constantly tracking and measuring success, not just saying, here's a goal and blindly going after it. What I mentioned, predictable sales engine, so you're not just in start and stop, and having these clear operating procedures in the business, so you are not just a one-woman show, one-person show, trying to do everything by yourself. And that leads into things like the automations and systems that can lead you to burnout as a founder. And how do we map out, let's get you out of just the solo entrepreneur mode, or small, just very small team. What does it look like to bring on people in the next 12 to 18 months? Because now you have the cash to support it. Then also, how do we bring on the right people to help advise you throughout this journey? And then also, you'll have the community support and confidence to take your business to the next level. And some things that I'm really proud of that the founders we have supported have experienced. I said it earlier, the founders who go through our program are operating at 54% higher on revenues on average than their counterparts. But also some tangible things. We've seen people who have 25x their revenue growth after a few months. We've seen people add 2.3 million to the sales pipeline, have secured 400,000 in major deals, have increased revenue 700% month over month, so on and so forth. There's so many that I'm very proud of, but let's go through the rest of this as well. Um, and then some program requirements, like I mentioned, these are the key things that I mentioned earlier. We have a refundable deposit and refundable highlight, very refundable. We do not want to keep your deposit. This is just for accountability. Is founders have to come to 90% of the sessions and also submit your weekly KPIs as well as your monthly, quarterly, and annual reporting. Again, being able to report on your metrics helps us to understand what's happening in your business so you're not doing it alone, as well as your peers. So we as a program can say, hey, here's what's working, what's not. How do we best support you? As well as share these insights with our community so you know as a collective how are we all performing and what can we learn from each other, what's working, what's not, because why reinvent the wheel, right? As well as, and this is the deposit here is the wrong, it's only 250, but the completion of your growth plan, which you build throughout the program, so that shouldn't be a problem. And the refundable deposit is actually only 250, so don't worry about that. And here's some just key dates. The applications are due December 11th. We'll be doing the interviews throughout that time. So from December 4th to the 17th. And that's because people submit their applications beforehand. And then also we do our cohort selection by the 19th and announce the founders selected into the program by the 7th of January. And the program launch is January 20th. For cohort 1. Amazing. So that's pretty much the gist of the program. But like I mentioned, I wanted to go through that pretty quickly because a lot of this is on the website, but I wanted to go in more details about what to expect. But now I want to shut my mouth and hear what questions you all have for us that are top of mind for you in this moment. And also this QR code is where you can get the application and apply if you feel like it's the right fit for you. And also feel free to take yourself off of mute. You don't have to do chat.
Alex, this sounds so amazing. What a cool
Thank you.
opportunity. And I have some people in mind to send your way. My question is, what does exactly tech-enabled mean? It feels like all businesses, right, are like using tech now. So do you mind just defining that a little bit so I can know who might be a fit?
Yeah, for sure. So as long as you're using some form of technology to deliver your product or services, whatever it is. So tech by itself, pretty clear. These are things like SaaS, or you have a specific technology you put out in the world. Tech enabled, if it's really critical to how you operate and deliver your products or services, that's what we consider tech enabled. There's a good amount of companies that would be considered tech enabled. But let's say, for example, if you have a business that is very heady, like example, my brother has a gutter cleaning business, great business. Unsexy categories are phenomenal because they make so much money.
Probably total cash cow, I bet.
Cash cow, cash
Awesome.
cow, insane. They're amazing. Those are amazing, amazing niches. But we wouldn't be the best program for him because it is very service oriented. Very like he might use, let's say, a checkout, to get his company, or get his clients to pay, but it's not enough for tech enabled. So it has to be really critical to how you deliver your product or services for us to consider it. So yeah, great question.
Super helpful. Okay, thanks so much.
Of course. Amazing. Any other questions? Give it to me. And also, there's no dumb questions. There's usually when you have a question, someone else probably has that same exact question. So
I wanted to dig into the tech enabled a little bit more
for sure.
because uh, physical products can fit in that sometimes. So we have a biotech product. Does that mean tech enabled in this context?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank
Yep.
you.
Great question.
And Alex, I just scanned the code and just to apply, not for
Yeah.
me, to see what it says. And I think it still says that it's got all the different categories. So you might just change that to just the tech enabled since you're only doing that this time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no big deal. But just so people don't waste their time applying if they can't be in this one. They can be in the next one.
Yes.
Totally.
And Maveland, we answered your question. And did I say that correctly? I hope so. Your name correctly.
I'm gonna hop off. Thank you so much. See you soon,
Bye.
everyone. Have a great night.
Yes. Amazing. And then Yvonne, it seems like you're trying to say something, but I don't hear you. Yeah, you're still on mute. So you can, if you want, you can write it in the chat. Yeah, because I can't hear you. Yeah, go ahead and type it in the chat, then we can answer your question. Okay, Catherine's question. Do you have a date for the green economy cohort? It will most likely be in spring. We don't have an exact date yet. It will be really contingent on when after this first cohort, when we decide what we want when we want the next cohort to launch. And also, we're still deciding whether it's going to be green economy or climate as well. And that will just be based on feedback we're getting from founders. All right, looks like Yvonne's still typing. What else, y'all? What questions you got for me? There are no bad questions. Okay. You want to set up a new platform. Okay, very cool. Do you all already use some form of technology to run the staffing?
How many companies are you planning on selecting for the first cohort?
20. Yeah. Next time I use it. Yeah, Zoom's weird. We had an issue today. That's why we were running a little late. So sorry, everybody. But yeah, so what you all can expect is we usually get hundreds of applicants and we narrow it down to about 20 that we can serve. And we look at different variations of criteria. So we actually have a very unbiased, very mathematical process for how we select the companies we serve. And a lot of it is based off of what we actually, what we put out very publicly, which is, are you in New York? Are you at the specific revenue level? Are you building the type of business in the specific category where vertical that we mentioned for this cohort, tech and tech enabled, things like that. So there's a whole ranking process. And again, our biggest thing is we want to make sure that we are the best place to serve any entrepreneur that goes through our program. So you're not wasting your time. That is really, really critical to us. So everything we put out publicly is exactly what we score and rank founders on to determine whether or not they get into the program. So as long as you look at all the criteria and you're like, yes, I fit that criteria, and you're like, I feel like I'm ready to go, then highly, highly encourage you to apply because we would love to support you. Are we submitting tax documents? No. No, we just, in the application, we ask things around like revenue bracket, things like that. That's really important to us. Because again, this program, and we always lead with the honesty and making sure people, their full discretion, you can give us, your numbers. But this program is best for people who are at what we call scale ready. And this is why we're not great for the launch stage. Launch is amazing. Again, there are so many wonderful programs out there that really help at that launch stage. We are best for when you're like, I know what works, but we're just ready to crank it up and get it to the next level. That's where we become your best friend as a platform and a program. Awesome, everyone. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for bearing with us. You have 1 minute here. What you'll get from us next is we're going to follow up with an email that has the recording to this. So if you're like, oh, I don't remember what Alex said about this, it's okay. You can absolutely review. And if you have any direct questions, you can also email us directly. We are happy to support you in any way that we can. And then, as mentioned, the applications are going to be due December 11th. Apply as soon as possible. And yeah, if you have questions, our team will have that email go out. You can reply directly there. And we cannot wait to see your applications, learn more about you. And in the meantime, regardless of anything, so proud of all of you for building your businesses, especially in this crazy climate. It is not easy. And you're doing the damn thing, and we're just proud of you, and thank you for showing up for yourselves and each other, and looking forward to seeing your applications. Everyone, have a wonderful rest of your week, and hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.